Picture this. A man sitting in his Mercedes outside a courthouse, watching everything he owns get auctioned off piece by piece. His Rolex, his penthouse, even his mother's wedding ring. And in the crowd, two sisters are bidding on his stuff with his own money they legally took from him. This is Marcus Chen, and 6 months ago, he made a bet that would destroy his entire life. But wait, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me tell you what Marcus doesn't know yet. Those sisters didn't just take his money. They took his reputation, his business partners, his family's trust, and something even more precious. They took the one thing he valued most, and he handed it to them willingly, thinking he was the player in this game. Rewind to 8 months ago. Marcus is sitting at Nobu with his boys, dropping $2,000 on dinner like it's nothing. His friend Jake slides a gold poker chip across the table. "Bet you can't pull it off," Jake says, grinning. The Morrison twins, both of them, at the same time, without either knowing about the other. The Morrison twins, Sophia and Isabella. Tech entrepreneurs who just sold their startup for $40 million. Gorgeous, brilliant, and according to every blog in Silicon Valley, impossible to date. They'd rejected every tech bro, every venture capitalist, every crypto millionaire who'd tried. Marcus takes the chip. How much? 50 grand says you can't get them both to fall for you. 100 grand if you can keep it going for 3 months without getting caught. Here's where you might think Marcus is just another douchebag with too much money. You'd be right, but you don't know the half of it yet. See, Marcus had already been watching the twins. He knew their coffee schedule, their gym routine. He'd even hired someone to hack their dating app profiles to see what they were looking for. But here's the thing about surveillance. Sometimes you're so busy watching, you don't notice who's watching you. Cut to 3 weeks into Marcus's plan. He's at a charity gala, working his angle on Sophia. She's wearing a red dress that costs more than most people's cars, laughing at his rehearsed jokes. He's thinking he's smooth. Meanwhile, Isabella is across the room, and he's already got their accidental meeting planned for tomorrow at her favorite bookstore. What Marcus doesn't see is the small glance between the sisters. A millisecond of eye contact that would have told him everything if he'd been paying attention. Because here's twist number 1 that'll make you want to throw your phone. The sisters knew about the bet before Marcus even approached them. How? Jake's girlfriend Rachel is Isabella's personal trainer, and Rachel can't keep her mouth shut after 3 margaritas. So when Marcus accidentally bumped into Sophia at that coffee shop, spilling his latte on her laptop, she already knew. When he offered to pay for the damage and casually mentioned he was a venture capitalist interested in their next startup, she already knew. When he sent flowers to Isabella's office with a note saying he'd been thinking about her since that conference in Austin, which he'd researched she'd attended, she already knew. But did they confront him? Did they blast him on social media? Did they tell him to fuck off? No, they did something much, much worse. They had a 3-hour dinner at Sophia's penthouse, drinking wine that Marcus would later pay for without knowing it, and planned every detail of his destruction. Not his embarrassment, not his heartbreak, his complete and total annihilation. "We could just expose him," Isabella had said, swirling her wine. "Too easy," Sophia replied. "Too quick. He needs to understand what it feels like to be hunted." Jump forward. Marcus is juggling both sisters like a pro. Tuesdays and Thursdays with Sophia, Wednesdays and Saturdays with Isabella. He's keeping separate phones, separate calendars, even separate Instagram accounts. His boys are impressed. The money's practically in his pocket. He takes Sophia to Paris, posts nothing online, tells her he values privacy. The same week, he tells Isabella he's at a conference in Tokyo. He's actually getting cocky now. Sending his boys videos from the Eiffel Tower, champagne in hand, Sophia in the background unaware she's being filmed for proof. But while he's in Paris, Isabella's not sitting at home. She's in his apartment. How? Remember that key he gave her for emergencies? Well, this qualified. She's not stealing anything. That would be too simple. She's photographing documents, business contracts, tax records. That little black book he thinks is so cleverly hidden behind his collection of first edition novels. She finds something interesting. Marcus isn't just some trust fund baby playing with daddy's money. He's been running a shell company, moving money for some very questionable people, the kind of people who don't like attention. Isabella sends everything to Sophia in Paris. Sophia reads it while Marcus is in the shower, singing off-key to Drake, thinking he's winning at life. Here's where you need to pay attention, because this is where the sisters' plan gets genuinely dark. They don't just want to take his money. They want him to give it to them. Willingly. Desperately. They want him to beg them to take everything he has. Sophia starts first. Over dinner at Le Jules Verne, she mentions she's thinking about a new startup. Something revolutionary. Blockchain-based supply chain management for pharmaceutical companies. She's got the tech, but she needs an initial investor. Someone she can trust. Someone who believes in her vision. Marcus, smelling an opportunity to impress her, offers to invest. How much do you need? $2 million to start. He doesn't even flinch. Writes the check right there. Sophia takes a photo of it for her records. What she's really doing is sending it to Isabella with the caption, "Fish on hook." Meanwhile, Isabella's working a different angle. She's suddenly having family problems. Her dad's business is in trouble. He might lose everything. She's too proud to ask for help, of course, but she mentions it tearfully over dinner. Marcus, playing the hero, offers to help. Just a loan, of course. Between friends, lovers, whatever they are. Another $1.5 million. Gone. But here's the beautiful part. Both sisters are using the money to buy shares in Marcus's own company through shell corporations. Every dollar he gives them comes back to haunt him, purchasing pieces of his own empire. He's literally funding his own takedown. 2 months in, Marcus is feeling invincible. He's got both sisters eating out of his hand, or so he thinks. The bet's almost won. He's already planning how to spend the money. Maybe a new car, maybe a vacation to celebrate his genius. Then Isabella suggests something. "We should all have dinner. You, me, and Sophia. I want you to meet my sister properly." Marcus's blood freezes. This is the nightmare scenario. But Isabella's looking at him with those eyes, and he can't think of a good reason to say no without looking suspicious. "Sure," he says, his voice cracking slightly. "When?" "Tomorrow night. Sophia's place." 24 hours of pure panic. Marcus is rehearsing stories, creating alibis, preparing for the worst night of his life. He even considers just not showing up, taking the loss, admitting defeat to his boys. But he shows up, because he's Marcus Chen, and Marcus Chen doesn't lose. He walks into Sophia's penthouse with flowers and a bottle of wine that costs a month's rent for most people. Both sisters are there, dressed casually, smiling. They pour him a drink. They make small talk. Everything seems normal? Then Sophia says, "So Marcus, tell us about the bet." The wine glass slips from his hand. It shatters on the marble floor, red wine spreading like blood. "What bet?" he manages. Isabella pulls out her phone, plays a video. It's him at Nobu, taking that gold poker chip, saying, $100 grand if you can keep it going for 3 months without getting caught. But wait, how did they get this video? This is where twist number 2 hits. Jake was in on it. Jake, his boy since college. Jake, who made the bet in the first place. Jake, who's been dating Rachel for 2 years and is completely whipped. Jake, who recorded everything and sent it to his girlfriend, Slick, who sent it to the twins. She walks away, her heels clicking on the concrete, each step a reminder of how thoroughly he's been destroyed. But wait, there's one more thing. Remember that shell company Marcus was using to launder money? The questionable people he was involved with? They're not happy about the attention. They're not happy about the investigation. They're not happy about Marcus. His phone rings. Unknown number. "We need to talk about the money you owe us," the voice says. Marcus realizes the sisters didn't just take everything he had. They've left him with debts to people you don't want to owe money to. People who don't accept bankruptcy as an excuse. People who collect in other ways. He runs. Of course he runs. Where else can he go? But everywhere he goes, the sisters have been there first. Every safe house, every friend who might help, every escape route, they've anticipated it all. They've warned people, they've shared information. They've made him radioactive. 3 months later, Marcus is working at a call center in Nebraska under a fake name, selling insurance to people who don't want it. He's living in a studio apartment with roaches and a broken air conditioner. He's nobody. He's nothing. He's exactly what he tried to turn the sisters into. A game, a joke, a bet. But the sisters? They're thriving. Their new startup, funded with Marcus's money, just got valued at $200 million. They're on the cover of Forbes. They're giving talks about women in tech, about standing up for yourself, about never being anyone's victim. They never mention Marcus by name. He's been erased so thoroughly that it's like he never existed in their world at all. When asked about their inspiration, they just smile and say, "Sometimes the best revenge is massive success." But late at night, Marcus gets emails, anonymous emails. They contain photos. Him at the call center, him at the grocery store buying ramen, him sitting alone at a bar, nursing a cheap beer. The message is always the same. We're still watching. Because the thing about revenge is that it's not just about the immediate destruction. It's about the lasting fear. The knowledge that somewhere out there, someone holds your fate in their hands, and they're choosing to let you suffer slowly rather than end it quickly. Marcus changes jobs, changes cities, changes his name again. But the emails keep coming. The sisters have built a network, a system, a way to track him wherever he goes. Not because they care about him anymore, but because they want him to know he'll never be free. He played a game with their lives, and now his life is their game, forever. You want to know the really fucked up part? The part that keeps Marcus awake at night, staring at the water-stained ceiling of whatever shithole apartment he's hiding in? He could have actually dated either sister. For real. They were both initially attracted to him. Before they knew about the bet, they'd each mentioned him to the other. Met this interesting guy, they'd said. Might be worth getting to know. If he just approached one of them honestly, without the games, without the bet, without the lies, he might have had something real. He might have been happy. He might have been part of their success instead of the casualty of it. But he chose the game. He chose the bet. He chose to see them as objects to be won rather than people to be respected. And that choice cost him everything. The last scene. Marcus is at a gas station somewhere in Montana, filling up his beat-up truck. The kind of place where nobody asks questions and everyone's running from something. He goes inside to pay, counts out crumpled bills, avoids eye contact with the clerk. The TV behind the counter is playing financial news. The sisters are on screen, ringing the opening bell at the New York Stock Exchange. Their company just went public. Initial valuation, $5 billion. Marcus watches for a moment. Sophia's wearing the red dress from that charity gala. Isabella has on the necklace he bought her in what feels like another lifetime. They're smiling, successful, untouchable. The clerk notices him staring. "Something else?" he asks. Marcus shakes his head, walks back to his truck. His phone buzzes. New email. He doesn't need to open it to know what it is. A photo of him at this gas station, at this moment, watching them on TV. The subject line, "Still thinking about us." He deletes the email, drives away into the Montana darkness. But he knows it doesn't matter how far he drives, how many times he changes his name, how deeply he tries to disappear. The sisters won. Not just the bet, not just the money, not just the revenge. They won the war for his mind. He'll spend the rest of his life looking over his shoulder, wondering if they're still watching, still documenting, still one step ahead. And somewhere in a Manhattan penthouse, Sophia and Isabella toast with champagne that costs more than Marcus makes in a month now. They don't talk about him. They don't need to. He's just a story they sometimes tell when young women ask them about dealing with predatory men in the tech industry. Make them think they're the hunter. Sophia always says, right until they realize they're the prey, Isabella finishes. They clink glasses. Below them, the city sparkles with possibilities. Above them, the sky is limitless. And somewhere in Montana, a broken man drives through the darkness, forever running from the consequences of a bet he should never have made. But here's the question that should haunt you. How many Marcus Chens are out there right now, making bets on women's hearts? How many think they're players in a game only they know about? How many are about to learn that the women they're targeting are far more dangerous than they could ever imagine? The Morrison twins didn't just destroy Marcus. They sent a message. They created a template. They showed every woman who's ever been treated like a prize to be won that sometimes the best response isn't to refuse to play the game. Sometimes the best response is to play it better than they ever could and win everything. The end? Not quite. Because 3 years later, Marcus's story goes viral. Someone leaks the whole thing on Reddit. Every detail, every twist, every devastating moment. The post gets millions of views. People are fascinated, horrified, impressed. The sisters trend on Twitter. They're invited on podcasts, offered book deals, pitched for a Netflix series. They decline everything. Put out one statement: we're entrepreneurs, not entertainers. Our story isn't for sale. But Marcus sees it all from whatever hole he's hiding in. Watches his humiliation become entertainment for millions. Reads the comments calling him pathetic, saying he deserved worse, laughing at his downfall. And then something unexpected happens. A message arrives. Not an email this time. A handwritten letter, forwarded through 17 different addresses to ensure it can't be traced back. It's from Isabella. We're done, it says. No more emails. No more surveillance. No more games. You've paid enough. Live your life, such as it is. But remember, we could have destroyed you completely. We chose to leave you breathing. That's more mercy than you showed us. Marcus reads it 17 times, burns it, watches the ashes scatter in the wind. For the first time in 3 years, he sleeps without nightmares. But when he wakes up, there's a gold poker chip on his nightstand, the same one from Nobu. From Nobu's, the one Isabella dropped in his lap at the courthouse, the one he knows he threw away years ago. How did it get here? Who put it there? Are they really done with him, or is this just another layer of the game? He'll never know. And that not knowing, that's the cruelest revenge of all. Because revenge isn't just about what you do to someone. It's about what you make them do to themselves. The paranoia, the fear, the constant questioning of reality. The sisters didn't just take Marcus's money and reputation, they took his ability to ever feel safe again. And for guys like Marcus, who built their whole identity on being in control, being the one with power, being the player instead of the played, that's a fate worse than bankruptcy, worse than humiliation, worse than exile. It's the knowledge that two women he tried to treat as props in his story rewrote the entire narrative and made him the cautionary tale. The footnote, the example of what happens when you mistake someone's kindness for weakness, their silence for ignorance, their patience for passivity. Marcus keeps the poker chip, carries it everywhere. A reminder, a warning, a wait. Sometimes late at night, he flips it in the air. Heads or tails, stay or run, trust or paranoia. It always lands the same way. Edge up, balanced impossibly, refusing to give him even the comfort of chance. Just like the sisters planned it. Because here's the ultimate truth about revenge. The best revenge isn't just destroying someone. It's destroying them so thoroughly that they participate in their own ongoing destruction. It's making them complicit in their own downfall. It's turning their own nature against them until they can't tell where the punishment ends and their own self-destruction begins. Marcus thought he was playing a game. He was right. He just never understood that he wasn't the one making the rules. He wasn't even a player. He was the ball. And the Morrison sisters? They didn't just win the game, they owned the entire fucking casino. Sophia used to dream in straight lines, growth charts, IPO curves, runway presentations where everything rose, always upward. But lately her dreams had loops in them, circles she couldn't close. His name always somewhere inside, half whispered, half damned. Marcus, the man they'd broken and buried and built an empire on. She told herself it was guilt at first. Guilt is easy to name, respectable even. You can donate it away, wrap it in philanthropy, disguise it as self-reflection. But this wasn't guilt. It was something that ached softer and slower, something that crept in during the quiet hours when the city's noise faded and she couldn't drown herself in data or deadlines. She started checking his file again, the one they swore never to open after sending that last letter. A burner email he still used sometimes to order pizza under another alias. Receipts that showed he was alive, if barely. A motel in Kansas. A car repair shop in Ohio. Small, human traces. The kind that shouldn't have mattered to her anymore. And then one day, she wired him money. Just $500. Anonymous sender. No message. No signature. She told herself it was for closure, that he'd never know it came from her. But he did. Of course he did. He sent a single email back to the same untraceable address. Still watching, huh? She stared at it for hours. The words should have chilled her, but instead they pulsed under her skin like something alive. She deleted it, but the feeling stayed. After that, it became a rhythm. Money appearing in his accounts. A new laptop. An apartment deposit. The occasional anonymous job lead. She told herself she was repairing what they'd broken, restoring balance, proving they weren't monsters. But late at night, when she saw his name glowing in her inbox, she knew it wasn't balance she was seeking. It was connection. Marcus had changed. The fear was still there, yes, but dulled. He'd learned humility, learned to live small. Sometimes he'd write her, cryptic, careful notes that said nothing directly but meant everything. You ever miss the noise? You ever wonder what might have been? She'd type replies and never send them. Months passed, then a year. The sisters were busier than ever. Conferences, investors, acquisitions. Isabella noticed first, the missing funds. The unaccounted transactions that didn't fit Sophia's usual precision. She didn't accuse, not at first. She just watched, until the day she followed Sophia. It was a small diner off the interstate, middle of nowhere, the kind of place where the coffee tastes like burnt rain and the waitresses all wear tired smiles. Marcus was already there, sitting by the window, thinner than before, but cleaner, steadier. Sophia slid into the booth across from him, and Isabella saw everything. The trembling smile, the fingers brushing his hand, the look that wasn't revenge anymore, but something dangerously close to love. She didn't confront them there. She waited until the gala that night, the one honoring women in tech, where they were supposed to present an award together. Under the gold lights of the ballroom, Isabella cornered her sister backstage. How long? Sophia didn't answer. How long have you been feeding him? So the silence said enough. The argument that followed never made the papers. It happened in whispers and clenched jaws, in glass shards and broken vows. Isabella called it betrayal. Sophia called it mercy. You can't save him, Isabella said. You think he loves you for real? He's using your guilt, your loneliness. Maybe. Or maybe we were wrong, Sophia said. Maybe he's not the same person anymore. You're risking everything for him. And you're risking your humanity by pretending we're gods. That was the first fracture between them. The first time the twins didn't move as one. Investors noticed. Assistants whispered. The perfect symmetry that had defined their empire began to splinter. Marcus didn't want the money anymore, not after he saw what it was doing to them. He called her one night. No encryption, no alias, just his voice, raw and almost gentle. You need to stop this, Sophia. They'll eat you alive for it. I can handle her. You can't handle what you broke, he said. She didn't sleep for days after that. 2 weeks later, Isabella showed up at Marcus's door. Alone. No cameras, no threats. Just her, in a gray coat and the same red scarf she'd worn the night they ruined him. He froze when he saw her. She walked in, looked around at the peeling wallpaper, the books stacked like barricades, the photo of Sophia half hidden under a lamp. I should ruin you again, she said. Then why haven't you? Because I'm tired. Because she's not the only one who's been thinking about what we did. She sat down. He poured her coffee. They talked for hours about things neither of them had words for back then. About power, about pain, about the strange intimacy of shared destruction. When Sophia found them together, it wasn't fury she felt. It was something colder. You too? She whispered. Isabella met her eyes. We can't undo what we did, Soph, but we can stop pretending it didn't destroy us too. That night, the three of them sat at the same table for the first time. No pretense, no game, no scoreboard. Just exhaustion and honesty. Marcus apologized first. It wasn't elegant. It was messy and human and too late. I thought you were the challenge. I didn't see you were the lesson. Sophia cried. Isabella didn't. They agreed to end it. No more money, no more manipulation. They would rebuild separately. The past was a ruin. They'd each take their share of the debris. But the heart doesn't care about logic. It lingers in the corners, waiting for moments of weakness. Weeks later, Sophia showed up again. Not with money, just herself. She said she wanted closure, but closure is just another word for hope dressed in mourning clothes. They met at a park bench overlooking the Hudson. The city stretched before them like a promise neither of them could keep. He told her he was leaving the country, starting over in Lisbon. She smiled, said she was happy for him, meant it halfway. When he kissed her, it wasn't passionate. It was quiet, trembling, full of everything they'd lost before they'd even had it. She pulled back first. If I love you, I destroy my sister. If you don't, you destroy yourself. So we lose either way. Maybe losing's the only honest thing we've ever done. They parted before sunrise. For months after, the twins barely spoke. The company ran itself. The brand was too big to fail, but something fundamental had cracked. The interviews grew colder, the smiles more forced. Investors sensed it, but didn't understand. They were watching a ghost version of the sisters who once ruled everything. Then came the final twist, an anonymous donation. $10 million wired to a foundation in Marcus's new name, funding scholarships for women in tech. The money's source? A shell company that once belonged to the Morrison Empire. Sophia swore she didn't do it. Isabella said she didn't either. But the signature line read, "For what was broken, for what was learned." Marcus never spent a cent of it on himself. He ran the foundation quietly, out of the spotlight, training women who reminded him of them, ambitious, sharp, unyielding. Sometimes, when journalists asked why he'd started it, he'd smile faintly and say, "Because the world taught me the hard way what not to do with power." Years passed. The sisters' company sold to a conglomerate. They retired early, bought houses oceans apart. Distance became their truce. But once a year, on the same date, a single poker chip arrived in Marcus's mailbox. Gold, engraved with a different word each time. The first read mercy. The second, memory. The third, forgiveness. The fourth one broke him. It said almost. He flew back to New York after that. Looked for them. Neither answered his calls. Their old penthouse was empty, their offices stripped bare. It was as if they'd vanished. He found Sophia first, on a quiet street in Brooklyn, volunteering at a literacy center. She looked older, softer, but her eyes still held that sharp, knowing light. "You came back," she said. "I never really left." They talked for hours, again, like echoes of that first diner conversation. When Isabella arrived, summoned by nothing more than twin intuition, she didn't speak for a long time. She just watched them. Finally, she said, "We ruined him once. We ruined ourselves next. Maybe this time we fix it properly." They agreed, to let the past breathe, to pay what was owed in something other than pain. A week later, the foundation received another anonymous donation, this time from both sisters, enough to expand globally, enough to erase the last trace of what had started as a cruel game. Marcus thought that was the end of it. But life doesn't do clean endings. One evening, a year later, a journalist tracked him down for an interview about the foundation's success. They showed him a new tech magazine cover, two familiar silhouettes standing side by side under the headline, "The Morrison Legacy Lives On." He smiled faintly. "They promised never to marry me," he said. And they didn't. But they made sure I'd never belong to anyone else either. When the interviewer left, Marcus sat alone for a long while. The sun dipped low, casting long shadows across his desk. He reached into his pocket, pulled out the poker chip, almost. He flipped it once. It landed edge up again. Always edge up. He laughed softly, a sound halfway between grief and peace. Maybe that's the real ending, he thought. Not redemption, not ruin, just the fragile balance between them. Because in the end, love and revenge were never opposites. They were reflections, two sides of the same gold coin, spinning endlessly, refusing to fall. And for the first time in years, Marcus didn't try to stop it from spinning. He just watched it gleam in the fading light, balanced perfectly on its edge, as if daring the universe to choose a side that would never come.